In a move that has sent shockwaves through the ranks of the Invictus Games Foundation, the organization's CEO, Sir Keith Mills, has issued a stern and unequivocal warning to Prince Harry, cautioning the Duke of Sussex to respect the authority of his newly appointed cousin-in-law, Mike Tindal, as the incoming head of the prestigious sporting event for wounded veterans. The extraordinary directive, delivered in a tense closed-door meeting at the Invictus Games London headquarters, has laid bare the simmering tensions and power struggles that have plagued the organization in the wake of Harry's acrimonious split from the royal family and his subsequent relocation to California. The message from Sir Keith was crystal clear: Harry needs to fall in line and accept Mike's leadership, or risk jeopardizing the entire future of the Invictus Games, confided a source close to the organization. There's a new sheriff in town, and Harry's been put on notice that any attempts to undermine or circumvent Mike's authority will have severe consequences. The decision to install Tindal, the husband of Harry's cousin Zara, as the new chair of the Invictus Games Foundation has been hailed by many within the organization as a masterstroke, a deft move to maintain the event's royal connections while also asserting a more robust chain of command in the face of Harry's increasingly mercurial behavior. Mike's appointment was a calculated power play, no doubt about it, remarked royal historian and author, Robert Lacey. By placing a trusted member of the royal family in the top leadership role, the Invictus hierarchy is essentially putting Harry on notice, toe the line, or risk being cut out of the very organization he founded. The tensions between Harry and the Invictus Games leadership have been simmering for months, with sources citing the Duke's increasingly erratic conduct and perceived inability to separate his personal grievances from the larger mission of the organization. Harry's had a hard time compartmentalizing his issues with the royal family from his role with Invictus, revealed the source. He's allowed his personal baggage to bleed into the organization, causing disruptions and sowing seeds of discord among staff and stakeholders. According to multiple insiders, Harry's behavior has ranged from dismissive and impatient during crucial planning meetings to outright insubordination, as he has repeatedly sought to circumvent established protocols and decision-making processes. There have been instances where Harry has tried to go rogue, making unilateral decisions or issuing directives without consulting the appropriate channels, the source explained. It's created an atmosphere of chaos and uncertainty, with staffers never quite knowing whose orders to follow. It was this pattern of behavior, coupled with growing concerns over Harry's ability to maintain a clear separation between his personal and professional roles, that ultimately prompted the Invictus Games board to take decisive action. Enter Mike Tindal, the former England rugby star and husband of Zara Phillips, who has been tapped to assume the chairmanship of the Invictus Games Foundation in a move that many see as a direct challenge to Harry's perceived dominance over the organization. Mike's appointment is a power play, pure and simple, asserted Lacey. He's a trusted member of the royal family, with impeccable credentials and a reputation for level-headedness. By installing him at the helm, the Invictus hierarchy is essentially saying, "We're taking back control, and Harry needs to fall in line or risk being sidelined." Sources within the organization have painted a picture of a tense and uncomfortable meeting between Harry, Sir Keith, and other top Invictus officials, during which the Duke was left in no uncertain terms about the need to respect the new chain of command. Sir Keith didn't mince words, the source revealed. He made it crystal clear that Mike is now the ultimate authority when it comes to the Invictus Games, and any attempts by Harry to undermine or circumvent his cousin-in-law's leadership would be met with swift and severe consequences. The warning is said to have struck a chord with the prince, who has long prided himself on his founding role and deep personal investment in the Invictus Games' mission to empower and support wounded veterans. For Harry, this was a gut punch, the source confided. The Invictus Games have been his baby, his legacy project, and the idea of having to defer to Mike on matters related to the organization he built from the ground up, it's been a bitter pill to swallow. As the dust settles on this latest chapter in the ongoing saga of palace intrigue and power struggles, many within the royal watching community are left to ponder the broader implications of this seismic shift in the Invictus Games hierarchy. For some, the move to install Tindal as the organization's chairperson represents a calculated effort by the royal establishment to rein in Harry's perceived excesses and reassert a more traditional chain of command. This is the palace sending a clear message to Harry: "Your days of operating as a rogue agent are over," opined royal commentator and author, Omid Scobie. By placing Mike at the helm, they're essentially putting a leash on Harry, ensuring that his every move is monitored and kept in check by a trusted member of the firm. Others, however, see the move as a necessary course correction, a recognition that the Invictus Games had begun to veer dangerously off course under Harry's increasingly erratic leadership. Let's be honest, Harry's personal life has been a complete train wreck over the past few years, remarked Ingrid Seward, editor-in-chief of Majesty magazine. Between his bitter split from the royals, his relocation to California, and his seemingly endless stream of bombshell interviews and tell-all memoirs, it was only a matter of time before his baggage started weighing down the Invictus Games. As the organization braces for this latest seismic shift in leadership, the question remains, will Harry heed the stern warnings from Sir Keith and the Invictus hierarchy, or will his perceived stubbornness and unwillingness to relinquish control ultimately lead to an irreparable rift? Harry's been put on notice, plain and simple, asserted the source close to the organization. He can either accept Mike's authority and work collaboratively for the greater good of the Invictus Games, or he can continue down this path of defiance and risk being frozen out entirely. For his part, Tindal has remained characteristically tight-lipped about his new role, issuing a brief statement expressing his deep honor and commitment to upholding the legacy of the Invictus Games and serving the brave men and women who have sacrificed so much for their countries. However, those close to the former rugby star paint a picture of a man uniquely suited to the challenge of navigating the treacherous waters of royal politics and power dynamics. Mike's always been the level-headed, no-nonsense type, remarked a longtime friend and former teammate. He's not going to be intimidated by Harry's antics or bullied into submission. If anyone can rein in the prince and get the Invictus Games back on track, it's Mike Tindal. As the world watches with bated breath, the future of the Invictus Games hangs in the balance, a delicate dance of egos, ambitions, and deeply entrenched loyalties. Will Harry heed the warnings and submit to his cousin-in-law's authority, or will his stubbornness and perceived sense of entitlement ultimately prove his undoing? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain, the battle lines have been drawn, and the stage is set for what promises to be an epic showdown of wills, with the very soul of the Invictus Games hanging precariously in the balance.